Hi there, it's Buttons and Chloe, who are exhausted. We are trying to make our way up this canyon, trying to find some cool rocks, but unfortunately it just seems like it's all volcanic-y stuff with no chalcedony or agates or anything fun. So, thought I'd take the time, hopefully the wind isn't too strong up here, and talk some shop as we're gonna head right up this canyon a little bit longer, and then we'll go find Zach and Bruce. We left them back about, I don't know, they're down the trail a bit. I think they gave up. So, we have a lot of things coming out. I cannot believe the release schedule in the next few weeks. We have Flesh and Blood they'll be releasing. We have Return of Jafar from Lorcana that will be releasing. We have a Star Wars Unlimited set that's coming out. And of course we have Final Fantasy and One Piece. We got it all. So that is a lot of product coming out in the what we call the summer slump. So it'll be interesting to see. Oh yeah, we have Destined Rivals too. Can't forget about that one. So it'll be interesting to see how well the market can absorb these products. Now, some things of note that I've seen since the last past video is both Magic and Pokemon seem to have an uptick in purchases. So we saw Journey Together actually stabilize. It was on a downward slide, and Prismatic Evolutions as well was starting to go down. And now they've stabilized, and it seems like the reprints are over for those two sets, at least for now. They'll probably still trickle in, and we're going to see the supply get outstretched by the demand. And I'm still blown away. We're still, I would say we're about, we are about 50% slower, I would say, with people coming and buying Pokemon packs and booster boxes and whatnot. However, I have seen an increase in people that actually want to play the game. So the, what do they call it? Pokemon Pocket is now at the point, I think, that people are starting to get bored of the simplicity of that game, and the people that actually do like the mechanics of Pokemon, it does tend to see that they're dipping their toes in the Pokemon TCG. So that should bring a little more demand, I would say, into Pokemon. Ooh, excuse my out of breath here. We're up pretty high, as you can see here, up on the trail. So yeah, should bring some new blood, in my opinion, into Pokemon. It'll be interesting with Destined Rivals, and then we have the black and white set, the 10.5 set after that. And then we'll have to see how well Pokemon fares into the end of summer, into fall, and into, of course, to the holiday season. So oftentimes in the TCG world, it's opposite of what you'd expect. You'd expect around the holiday seasons to be hot, and around tax return season to be hot, and kind of the colder months. But sometimes we do see summer booms. And so again, it'll be interesting to see how well the market can absorb all of the product that's coming out from like all the big name TCGs. So, of course, Final Fantasy is much anticipated. We are still seeing people pre-order singles at the most ridiculous prices ever. And I have to remind everyone that a rare and a standard set, especially something, just look at Lord of the Rings for an example. This is exactly how much Final Fantasy is going to be open. And there are what, like 2 cards in Lord of the Rings that are worth money? When the set, like there's cards that have started to tick up. But at the kind of the highest supply of cards for Lord of the Rings, there was 2 cards that were worth money. One was a Mythic, which being the One Ring, and the other one was Orcish Bowmasters. And everything else, was there even a $10 card above that? Ooh, there we go. As I finally find a rock that is worth picking up. We got some, a little bit of a chalcedony chunk here. That thing should polish up pretty good. His Buttons actually wants me to throw it to it. No, we're not going to throw this one. That's my first find of the day. So I wonder if we're actually getting into stuff. So, shush, I'm not throwing you the pretty rock. Alrighty, so, Final Fantasy. So speaking of Lord of the Rings, there is an interesting thing about Lord of the Rings, which I'm going to do a video on my Rogue Market channel. So I'm going to give everyone here a bit of a head start. Because typically when I do these videos, there tends to be a little bit of a buyout. There's a little bit of a Kevin effect. Not nearly like the Rudy effect, but I definitely, when I do post stuff on my personal Patreon and Discord, it does tend to lead to a little bit of a buying spree, at least a distribution level. So what I've heard is Lord of the Rings might be done. So there should be one more wave of set boosters, and I'm not even sure if commander decks are going to be reprinted. So if you look at the supply on eBay and TCG Player, it's actually quite low for commander decks. And commander decks, sealed commander decks, are something that I'm very, very bullish on. Even the worst ones, if you go back to like Kamigawa, or even the starter sets, like all of them age well, regardless of how terrible even the humans, the Celestia humans, out of, is it what, Innistrad? even those age well. Like the worst of the worst of the worst are now outperforming other products like even collector's boosters. So Lord of the Rings, I would not wait on either set boosters or commander decks. I personally am going to make a move. For a bit of transparency, all distributors are still chock full of Lord of the Rings commander decks. So the supply of them is quite high, but the value in the Lord of the Rings commander decks was actually pretty good. There's a lot of really high powered cards in them. The mana bases in them are good. And I think long term, like people are going to continue to buy Lord of the Rings. There will be new fans that come into the game from Lord of the Rings. They get into the Lord of the Rings books. They get into Magic. And actually, I think Final Fantasy is going to bring a lot of people into Magic. And then they're going to naturally go to something else they're familiar with, which is something like Lord of the Rings. So set boosters, draft boosters, and commander decks. I'm not sure if I can get draft boosters anymore, but I mean set boosters are your better bang for your buck anyway. I think those are very smart buys at the moment. And we'll have to look at the EV, the expected values of those sets, to see if there's anything worthwhile there. If you're looking at just spread from distribution versus how much you could buy it on TCG Player, it's nothing too like fancy. Like I think there's like a $10 spread on each one of them, which isn't significant at that point, because you know even there's people that can get in at lower numbers than even I can by buying in mass bulk. However, the supply is where I'm really looking at for both of those, with set boosters and commander decks drying out very quickly with Lord of the Rings. So again, this is kind of the whole $1 million question: is how much of a black hole will Final Fantasy be? How much money will it suck up? And will there be any money left for things like Lord of the Rings? And if I'm a betting man, which I am, I'm liking Lord of the Rings commander decks. I'm liking Bloomburrow commander decks. We've even seen Lost Caverns of Ixalan recover again. We've seen Dustmourne recover again. All those had recent reprints in commander decks. And I'm pretty sure Dragonstorm's going to get a reprint in the commander decks as well. I actually still like Aether Drift as a commander spec because I think there's some really good cards in Aether Drift commander decks. So again, very, very interesting time with Magic the Gathering. So we're definitely going to keep our eyes peeled for the Final Fantasy effect. And if you're a patron of mine, I'm going to try to get my numbers out to you as soon as possible. I'm still waiting on a few distributors to really finalize all my numbers. Same thing with like Destined Rivals and the new One Piece coming out. Those are still lagging behind. And it is going to be just an absolute mess trying to be organized in the next few days. So I'm going to try to keep up with the videos. But as I said, we have a lot of product that's going to be dropped in the end of May into the early June. And hopefully we'll get a breather after that with what is even announced after Final Fantasy. We don't have anything till Spider-Man and Eternities. So I think we do get a little bit of breather when it comes to Magic. However, the rest of the products are going to continue to go nuts. So another interesting thing is Flesh and Blood High Seas. That one we're expecting to be higher print than normal. So they kind of pulled away with heavy hitters. So allegedly, that the print numbers are lower than even going back to Rosetta or going back to like Mistborn. And now it seems there has been rumors that Heavy Hitters is going to get a small reprint as well as Rosetta. So I'm not sure exactly how the policy of Legendary Stories is for reprinting sets that still need to be in their current rotation, or what you call their hotter sets. It'd be interesting with Orcana too, what they're going to do with like older sets now, with that rotation that's been announced. That's going to be actually a pretty aggressive rotation. So they're going to have their Eternal format, as well as they're going to have their basically standard format. That's actually going to be the last year worth of cards is all that's going to be legal. So things are going to rotate quite quickly with Orcana. So yeah, very, very interesting with all of these games that are really starting to hit their 5 years at this point on some of them. What's Orcana? Is Orcana only 3 years old? Geez, time flies with these things. Feels like forever, but then it feels like yesterday when Orcana came out. So anyway, not a huge thing. Maybe we'll show some. I think everyone's sick of me huffing and puffing here. So let's actually show this canyon, see if we can get up here. So this is kind of the opposite end. So usually I am clear back in these canyons over there. If you can see them in my... So those are called Vivant, and they're like an ancient seabed that has been shifted up by tectonic plates. And it has a lot of those like red rocks and sandstone. And then this over here is an old volcano that formed the Monroe and the Tusher Mountains over here. The Monroe and the Fish Lake Mountains were formed by volcanic activity. So if you actually see these rocks, it's all volcanic. And so it's a completely different landscape for just a few miles away, where you have, what I really like about the Provence is it's got a little bit of both, because the Tushars and the Provence actually meld together, and the Tushars are also an ancient volcano. And so you get kind of the seabed that's been lifted up by tectonic plates, and then you also have the volcanic activity of the Tushars, and they mix together. There's actually a really cool canyon where they actually mix together, where you can see, the two distinct mountain ranges overlapping with each other. If I had any more energy, I'd go up and check to see if those rocks were climbable, see if they're actually solid, if they're anchorable, but man, I'm exhausted. So again, one of my things my brother is always looking for is like climbable cliffs, and that actually does seem like there could be some routes up there. So I don't know if I'm in a hurry and go check that out, or if I was gonna make it up this canyon a little bit more. Like I said, we lost Zach back there. He's probably huffing and puffing and moaning that we left him behind. But I want to come at least check this little, like, where it started to get narrow up here. So that's all I have for today. Let's see if we can find any more of these like little chalcedony chunks here. This one isn't the best one. It's like, yeah, it's definitely chalcedony. It's not quartz. So it would polish up. It might actually have some little banding in it if we were to cut it open. So yeah, one of my little hobbies that I got into a few years back, just picking up rocks and, having fun up on these trails. So love to take you guys along for these other ones. Like I said, you can see me sweating because we're probably like 7,000 or 8,000 feet right here, I would say. Above sea level. So even me that's acclimated, this is a good 2,000 feet, what I'm kind of used to. So even I'm starting to huff and puff a little bit. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm always looking for suggestions. As I stated, I know I sound like a broken record, but yeah, the Rogue Deck Builder and the Rogue Market are something that is on my to-do list of, reviving and getting back into. I'll be expecting a video on at least the set boosters or just Lord of the Rings in general, as well as some Final Fantasy picks that I am going to be posting here within the next few days. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. This has been Kevin with Gonno Games. Thanks for watching.